Today we're going to look at how to make soap. Handmade soap. For those who are making handmade soap from scratch, lye is essential in bringing about a chemical reaction that would produce a finished soap. However, the downside of lye is that it is a corrosive substance which could bring about burns or scarring or injury if you're not used with a proper precaution. So fortunately, there are still ways for novice crafters to use lye in a safe and effective manner. Additionally, using different mold to create the finished product can allow you to actually create a themed soap that would fit your preferences. Something that is interesting, you can make a mold that is made for your preference. You could get a mold that is in shape of a soap or also in shape of Pokemon. It's interesting. So ingredients for this soap making craft: you will need 2/3 of a cup or 160 milliliter of coconut oil, 2/3 of a cup 160 ml of olive oil, also 2/3 of a cup 160 ml of pre-chosen liquid oil, 1/4 of a cup or 60 ml of lye, also called 100% sodium hydroxide, 3/4 of a cup or 180 ml of distilled water. Number 1, gathering your equipment. So having the correct mixing bowl. Do not use equipment that will be used for cooking. Use bowls and equipment made from stainless steel and tempered glass and enamel. Avoid using copper or aluminum as they have a negative reaction to lye. Moreover, some plastics melt when you mix with lye, so just be careful to use a stainless steel or tempered glass or enamels. Use soap-only spoons made of styrene, plastic, or silicone. Yes, and get creative when choosing the soap molds. You can pick a variety of soap molds at your local craft store. Use silicone baking pans. Silicone is preferred because you can peel off the soap molds easily. So you have to gather your tools. Aside from actual ingredients you want in your soap, make sure you have a pint and a quarter canning jar, a stainless steel thermometer that can read between 90 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, a newspaper, and an old towel. And we can look at choosing the additives first. Pick up dried herbs from your local craft store or online. Make sure that you get dried herbs for your soap. So some popular choices are lavender, chamomile, lemongrass, or oak moss. Make sure you know who will be using your soap, as some people may be more sensitive or even allergic to some herbs. Each soap batch should use about 1/4 of a cup of dried herb. And 2, get oils from your local craft store or online. The essential oils come from roots or stems and flowers and seeds of plants. Their aroma can be artificially produced. Just use about 15 to 20 drops of oil, or around a teaspoon for a batch of this size. You can choose cinnamon powder, cocoa powder for artificial coloring, which let's look into the coloring first. Stick to like a more natural coloring rather than adding the artificial coloring. Cinnamon, yes, so now this is cinnamon or cocoa powder will create brown soap So powdered chlorophyll creates green, turmeric creates yellow, while beetroot makes an orange soap. Food coloring doesn't hold up well in soap, so it's best to stick to natural colors. Just be aware that colors may change during the process, like magenta beetroot turning yellowish orange. I wouldn't suggest turmeric. It might stain, but never did with the turmeric, but maybe it works. And we have to understand how aromatherapy works, so choose the materials based on your healing property and their healing properties. So for example, a lemon scent is said to aid concentration while calming and clarifying someone who feels angry or anxious or worn out. Mix and match your ingredient for your desired effect. So lavender is said to aid emotional stress, while rosemary is said to give energy, improve memory, and fight exhaustion, headaches, mental fatigues. Or cinnamon aids for concentration and focus, while peppermint is to boost energy, increase the concentration. Now, when you're making your soap, one, you need to prepare your work area and mix the lye. Very, very important. Use newspaper to cover your work first. Before working with lye, make sure you have a protective gear on, including gloves and an eye gear. Scoop about 1/4 of a cup of lye and measure water in your quart canning jar. Stir as you're slowly pouring in the lye into the water. Avoid the fumes by wearing a mask or standing back. It's very dangerous. Stir until it's clear and let it sit. Make sure you use cold water. If you have the time and budget, you can use distilled water. Most pharmacies or groceries will have distilled water that you can purchase. You can purchase lye at your local drugstore, crafts store, or online. Number 2, heat your oil once mixed together. Mix your oil together in a pint jar. Heat the pint for about a minute in the microwave, or you can add oil to the pan of the water and heat over a stove. The temperature should be around 120 degrees Fahrenheit for your oils. If you're making mild to hard bar, use olive oil or use coconut oil in order to produce soap with a good lather. You may also use almond oil or grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, or safflower oil to achieve the similar effect. So number 3, stirring the lye and oil together. Check the temperature of the lye. Wait for both the lye and oil to cool down around 95 to 105 Fahrenheit. Make sure not to let these ingredients cool too low, or your soap will come together too quickly and become coarse and crumbly easily. So once both lye and oil are at the right temperature, pour the oil into a mixing bowl and slowly stir the lye in by hand for about 5 minutes. You can also use an immersion blender to ensure that as much soap contacts the lye as possible. Once the soap is thick and light in color, similar to vanilla pudding, it is referred to as trace and is ready to add for herbs and essential oils. Number 4, you add the herbs and essential oil and other preferences. Stir everything thoroughly and pour the mixture into your soap molds or silicone baking mold. Cover the mold with plastic wrap and cover with old towel. The towel allows residual heat to the mixture that warm and start the saponification process. This is a process at which all your base ingredient becomes soap. So number 5, age your soap. Let your soap sit about 24 hours. Let it sit for about 12 to 24 hours. If your soap is still soft or warm, once cool and firm, remove your soap from the place into the parchment paper or baking track. Allow your soap to cure for about a month or 4 weeks, but turn each piece of the soap over at least once a week to ensure air gets into all sides of the soap. If you're using a loaf of pan for your mold, you should cut the loaf into bars before the 4-week curing period. Number 6, store the soap safely using wax paper or airtight container. Once you're cured the soap, wrap your soap in a wax paper, place it in an airtight container because handmade soap creates glycerin, which pulls moisture from the air, and moisture may attract debris and dust, so keeping your soap covered will keep them clean and pure. Now, number 4, cleaning up correctly. And let your tools sit to get rid of the fat and lye. Neutralize the lye with white vinegar before washing your equipment. Let all your equipment sit for several days because residual lye may burn your hand, while fat will be very difficult to remove it from the pots and pans. Waiting allows the residual lye and fat to become soap, then washes away when soaked in hot water. You have to wear gloves while cleaning up. Protect your hands because soap batter will still irritate your skin even though most of the saponification is over. And goggles and aprons are also great for protecting your eyes or clothing when you're cleaning it, because you're cleaning it in a hot water environment where steam will come out to your eye and face. Use a spatula or a paper towel to clean the soap mixture before rinsing it. Scrape any extra soap batter with a spatula. Use a paper towel to wipe raw soap from bowl or utensils. Get rid of any extra raw soap material before washing cuts. Minimize any harm the oil or lye might do to your pipes or septic tanks. Soak all your equipment and containers. Place all of your containers and bowls and utensils in your sink once you remove any excess soap. Soak and wash in hot water. And dish soap, crease cutting dish soap in this special sponge for utensils work best. And you can rinse with extremely hot water. Crease cutting dish soap or extremely hot water helps to both prevent clogging or greasy residue on your bowl or utensils. So handmade soap is gentle on the hands, so don't be afraid to touch any soap material. Now let's look at the tips. Summarize the tips. Even though lye is caustic and dangerous to work with, after it reacts with the oil in your soap through a process called saponification, no lye will remain in your finished soap. That's the tip. And there are warnings that I need to let you know. Warning number 1, water and lye will heat up and create fumes for 30 seconds. If you breathe in the fumes, you may choke or having choking sensation in your throat. This sensation is not permanent but should be avoided by wearing a mask and working in a very well ventilated area. Number 2, lye is caustic, eating holes in the fabric and burning your skin. Gloves, eye protection, and mask can provide a protection when using any amount of lye. Number 3, wear gloves for hand protection. Number 4, always add and stir lye into water and never water to lye. If you don't stir and allow the lye clump together at the bottom, it could heat up at all at once and explode. So dangerous stuff. So things you will need one more time. There is 1/4 of a cup of water, dried pulverized herbs, essential oils, 2 large mixing bowls, wooden spoon, glass plate, soap making mold, pint and a quart canning jar, stainless steel thermometer that can read between 90 to 200 degree Fahrenheit, newspapers, and an old towel. And this was the handmade soap making instructions. I hope that you enjoyed this short section, and if you did, please let me know. I will do one more how-to. Thanks guys for joining me today, and I hope that you are relaxed, and hope that you can have a good night's rest or have a good, great, energetic day. See you around. Bye.